Hi everybody, this is Deborah Vick with Crafting for a Cause. As you can see, I'm a patient advocate for rare diseases. My particular diseases, well, I have numerous rare diseases, but my major ones are Myasthenia Gravis and Ehlers Danlos. Just starting this today, I'm trying to create a vlog/blog. I've had a couple sporadic posts here and there, a couple of articles that I've had written that I've had posted a couple places, including the Mighty, but I haven't done anything in a while. Working on some things in progress. And after just having been at the Nord virtual conference this past weekend, and this past week having finished working on one of second to last of my Echo EDS trainings, as well as a 3-part series for the Reese Foundation Advocates, and the weekend prior to that, a virtual conference for Ehlers Danlos Society, kind of thought it was time that I make a little video about what my rare disease means to me. So for no further ado, I'm just going to come out with a couple of different concepts that first come to mind when I think of rare diseases in relation to myself. Now, let me also clarify that when defining one's rare disease, it is different for everybody. Everyone's rare disease affects them differently. One of the things about rare diseases is that they all fall on a wide spectrum of how one is affected or how one's family may be affected by it. So it's a very unique and personal story for each person. Eventually, I will go through different stories regarding my education and my treatments, as well as my odyssey for a diagnosis, and at one point for a cure. At this point now is just maintenance of treatments so that I can maintain a standard of lifestyle that I would like. It may not be ideal, it may not be the best lifestyle, but at least it's the best within my reach. So back to what living rare means to me. First word that comes to my mind is challenging. Anyone who has a rare disease knows that everything can be a challenge, whether it's obtaining treatments, whether it's obtaining doctors, whether it's getting to doctors if you can't drive anymore like me, or if it's getting insurance companies to cover the medications and treatments that are prescribed by the doctors. It's all challenging from like the minute you wake up to the minute you go to sleep. It's just one kind of a challenge after another, and sometimes it's like you have to chip away at just a tiny little bit at a time. Where other times you have to just get on the phone and start, hopefully not yelling and screaming, hopefully talking as nicely as possible for as long as possible, patiently with insurance companies. It doesn't always work that way. I've had my share of conversations that I've probably not best repeated. And for the most part, though, it's usually a very long process to get anything approved, and denials and appeals and a whole bunch of other wonderful other steps in between to try to get what you need done. So I would definitely say it's a big challenge. I also like to define my life as kind of a little bit like a roller coaster, because we have some ups, and then we have some plateaus, and we have some major downs, and then I'll go up a little bit, and then I'll go back down for a while. So it's ups and downs, but more, unfortunately, with my disorders as they progress, more downs than ups or plateaus. As my husband likes to say, he's always waiting for the next shoe to drop, because every time I think that like things can't get any worse, it does. So one thing I've also noticed is it could always be worse. There's always somebody out there who has challenges that seem beyond your comprehension. So the reality is somebody always has it worse. And yeah, people have it better too. I'm not going to say that people don't, because some people do. But reality is that we're all on our own journeys. We all have challenges that go ups and downs. We all have goals and dreams that we want to achieve, and then we have things that are reality. And sometimes the goals and dreams and reality are not going to be the same. And oftentimes than not, more times than not, people with a lot of chronic illnesses, there's usually a big difference between what your goals and dreams are and what you are able to accomplish. For me, it's still a battle that I still wage between what I want to do and what I can do. And I'm a big work in progress on still trying to balance the two. Can tell you some people in my family would probably say that I do not say no enough, and that I take on too much, even though in my mind's eye it's not too much, because it's nothing of what I used to be able to do. So learning that balance is always going to be a tricky one, as well as acceptance of what you can't do and that being okay. So that's also still a project that I'm still in work in progress on. I will let you know whenever I get there, which I have not achieved that yogi moment of that perfect balance or acceptance. So we're still working towards that, and hopefully one day I can perfectly explain it to you. But for now, we're just going to go with it's a challenge. It's some days easier than other days. And then the other word that comes to my mind is compassion or empathy. And I say this as both a rare disease patient as well as, so I say this from the perspective of a rare disease patient, but this actually applies to both caregivers and patients. And I say this in terms of that as a rare disease patient, I need to have empathy and patience for those around me that are trying to help me, even if am very irate, irritated, like zero spoons, probably even negative 20 spoons, I'd say, or an extreme amount of pain. So I do say to try to have that understanding, and at least when you do snap or yell or have a non-responsive moment or reactionary versus a very compassionate responsive one, to be able to apologize and admit when you've done something wrong and to share that and explain to why. I also, in our household, I use the terminology pangry, especially with COVID, not being able to get my acupuncture and some of my injections that I've used regularly for part of my maintenance for pain management. My pain levels have been much higher. Those who know me have seen I've been wearing my neck brace a lot more. I've not been getting out of bed a lot. I mean, this whole week I've been in bed. Fortunately, I can attend my conferences from bed. That's kind of cool for the virtual aspect anyway. But that being said, to utilize humor as a means for de-escalating a situation, to utilize a label for when you're not feeling well that makes it okay to explain to those around you that it's not a good moment. And patience with yourself. I mean, most importantly, you can't expect the world from yourself. I mean, reality is your body is combating a lot of challenges. Things that are causing fatigue, things that are causing your body to fall apart, things that are causing, as my family calls my body, my body broken or fragile, because there's pretty much nothing in my body that doesn't sublux or dislocate or slide out of place or easily get damaged. So my body is very fragile. And I'm also apparently, because of all my leg braces and back brace and neck brace and wheelchair and such, not the bull in the China shop, as my husband likes to refer, because I managed to knock over everything very easily without even realizing it, or fall and then knock things over. So that's also one of the things, is patience with yourself and understanding for yourself and your own limitations. It's not easy to be that way. It's not easy to look at yourself from outside the box and say, objectively, you have done too much, or that you need to stay in bed, or that you can't do this right now. But becoming more aware of oneself, being more mindful in your movements and your intentions, will help you move towards that space. Again, I'm still working on this in progress type of a situation myself, but I am trying to practice more mindfulness and trying to practice more mindfulness in my intentions of my activities that I'm doing, so that it's a little bit less damaging to myself and more aware of what I can do, so that I'm not causing myself to be in excruciating pain. Again, it's easier said than done, and it doesn't mean that I don't overdo it, because I do way too often. And it also takes me sometimes a week or 2 weeks to recover from just doing a small activity. So understanding your limitations is such an important aspect. Patience for yourself, empathy for yourself, understanding of yourself becomes essential if you're combating a rare disease, or if you're caring for one, especially a younger person with a rare disease. It's important to understand needs of the other person to help them find something that they can work towards, be it a small task, small achievement, what have you, whatever it is, something small that they can work towards, and then work your way up to bigger goals. But for the most part, I think right now I just want to let everybody know that rare diseases affects us all differently, and you can't tell by looking at us what one person may be challenged with versus another. I mean, right now I'm sitting here, you can't see my leg braces, my back brace, or my neck brace that I'm normally wearing. You can't see a lot of these things, and yet I have all these things, right? And I have severe chronic pain. I have a whole laundry list of secondary disorders that are comorbidities to my Ehlers Danlos. But you can't see any of that. You happen to see some things, but most things you can't see. And so one thing I do want to leave everybody with is to have empathy for everybody, because right now we're all going through challenges. It may be compounded more for people that have illnesses right now, especially underlying conditions, or not being able to get treatments for their conditions. But we're all going through something. You never know what anyone's going through by looking at their judging book by its cover, just by looking at one's individual self. However, to keep in mind that we are all battling something, we're all trying to overcome something, we're all struggling with something. Our struggles may vary greatly between person to person, but it's there. So really, as much as I can strongly emphasize this, have empathy and patience for all the people around you.